Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a brand new video. So, the Iowa caucus is officially less than 1 month away, so I thought it would be a perfect time to do an election prediction between President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump. These are the two frontrunners as of now for their parties' respective nominations, and let's be real here, it's going to be them two. No one else has a shot. The 2024 election is still a very long way out, but based off of polling we have seen so far, Trump maintains a solid lead nationwide against Biden. Biden's support appears to be fractured due to his poor handling of the economy. We all know Bidenomics works very well, and foreign affairs with Ukraine and Palestine. Despite this, Trump is still a pretty polarizing figure, and that could really hurt him, especially we've seen a lot of suburban trends against Trump. A lot of people just don't like him, so that is really his one big hurdle. He also has legal troubles, which could make things interesting down the line. But still, as of now, Trump maintains a solid polling lead across the swing states. And do keep in mind that this is my prediction as of now, and subject to change. And we all know how off me and pretty much everyone else was in the midterms last year, so take this with a grain of salt. This is just where I think the race stands of now. I'll probably be wrong. But let's start filling in the safe states for each candidate. Starting with Joe Biden, we're going to start across the West Pacific Coast and probably Colorado and New Mexico at this point. You could make an argument that New Mexico could be under 10 percentage points, but I don't think so. I think Biden probably wins it by about 10. State of Illinois, Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, New York. Although New York could be more competitive, actually. We've seen some polling there that suggests Trump is doing pretty well in New York City after Lee Zeldin's strong performance in the governor race, but we'll have to wait and see. Maine at large, Maine's first district, are probably going to go for Trump. Almost forgot about D.C., and I think that's going to be it for Biden's safe states, as far as I can see. Yeah. Now we're going to fill in Trump's safe states, which include Idaho, Utah, Wyoming, Montana, the Dakotas, all of Nebraska except the 2nd District, all through the Deep South and Great Plains, South Carolina, Alaska, probably Maine at large, if we're being honest here. Forgot to fill in South Dakota. Silly me. And Iowa, I'm going to move into safe Republican. This is based off of margins as of now. So for those of you who don't know, the states that I've filled in now are states that I believe will vote for their candidate by more than 10 percentage points. So if it's deep blue right now, if it's filled in blue right now, it means it'll vote for Biden by over 10. If it's filled in by red, it means it'll vote for Trump by over 10. Just wanted to confirm that for anyone who may not be know how I do my margins, because a lot of channels use different margins. Some people do it by probability. I still do it by margins. So the states that are in gray are the ones that I believe will be the more competitive states. That doesn't mean they're going to be swing states. They're just going to be more competitive. Let's start by filling in the likely states. These are the ones that are not going to be super close, but still under 10. I think Biden wins Minnesota, Virginia, and New Hampshire by a likely margin. Biden's polling is not very good, to be quite honest. He's in Minnesota. He's only up by about 2 points in a poll I saw not that long ago. New Hampshire, Biden is doing all right in, actually. Same thing with Virginia. Basically, Biden maintains a very narrow polling lead in these states. I don't think they're actually going to be that competitive. I mean, if we're going off of polling right now, then Minnesota should be lean. Virginia should practically be a toss-up. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I think we saw in just a few weeks ago in Virginia, we saw Republicans struggle in the state legislature elections. New Hampshire is a state that has consistently been moving to the left. Republicans got obliterated there last year. And Minnesota, although it is a Rust Belt state, although you could make an argument that Trump could possibly do well there, because Trump did almost win it in 2016, it moved heavily to the left in 2020, and Democrats have continued to do well in Minnesota. So yeah, I don't really see it going anywhere. The likely states for Trump include the states of Ohio and Florida. Ohio and Florida, pretty similar, actually, electorally. Both went to Obama twice, but have both now become Republican strongholds. We saw last year in Ohio, Mike DeWine won the governor race by a landslide. J.D. Vance managed to win the Senate race despite being outspent 4-1 by a quote-unquote moderate and Tim Ryan. In Florida, Ron DeSantis and Marco Rubio won big. And then back in 2020, Donald Trump won both these states by sizable margins, and now he is polling even better than he was in 2020 in both Ohio and Florida. I think he wins both of them by about 7, 8, maybe even 9 points. So these are the states so the remaining states are the states that I believe are going to be truly competitive. They're going to be the closest states and the ones that you really want to look at. Let's go east, let's go west to east. We'll start in the state of Nevada. I think that's leaning to Joe Biden at this point in time. Actually, maybe tilt. We'll put it tilt Biden. I think that Trump certainly has a shot in Nevada, but as we saw last year and with Adam Laxalt, although polling has Trump up in Nevada as of now, and although Nevada has been moving to the right, Adam Laxalt still lost there. We've seen a lot of shifts in the Reno area that aren't necessarily good. And although I think Nevada is probably going to be the closest state out of all of these, in my opinion, I think I very narrowly have it going to Biden at this time. The Democratic Party there, although it faced a lot of troubles, they basically were taken over by the progressive wing of the party. They still managed to win, and the governor race was very close. Although Republicans did flip it, and we did do well there, it was still very close. But the Democrats also maintained all three of their congressional seats there. And really, I think the only Republican governor flip being in Nevada was more of a testament to Lombardo's electability and Steve Sisolak's unpopularity than the Republican trends. I do think it's very likely it could flip to Trump, but as of now, I think it's going to tilt to Biden. Arizona, that's going to lean to Biden. Arizona, although Trump is doing well there in the polling as of now, I just don't see it. I'm going to be real with you guys. I mean, Arizona is a state that used to be a Republican stronghold, voted overwhelmingly for the Republican Party, has narrowed up now that Trump has kind of become the main Republican. It's very fond of John McCain. It's more of a centrist state. And although it had there, you could argue Hispanic trends benefit the GOP. Maricopa County, home to Phoenix, is just so big and so college educated, and it's shifting very heavily against the Republicans. I mean, last year we saw Kari Lake and Blake Masters lose. Yeah, just not good trends for the Republicans in Arizona. I think Arizona is the one state that Trump is probably not favored in. Like, really not favored in. Like, Nevada, you could make a very good argument. I think Nevada is about 50-50. I think just to have it tilting to Biden just as of now. But Arizona, I really would be stunned if Trump pulls it off. It would take a lot of third-party votes because a lot of these quote-unquote moderates who like John McCain, they're going to vote for Biden. And unless you have some sort of really strong third-party candidate, RFK maybe could do it, but I think these voters would be turned off by his anti-vaccine rhetoric and anti-war rhetoric because they love John McCain. They'd probably vote for Biden. We've also seen so much illegal immigration to Arizona under Biden's administration. I mean, there's been so many illegal immigrants. And yes, technically, I know that illegal immigrants will not be allowed to vote, but I'm sure that there are plenty that still will. And that is a big concern for me, actually, in Arizona, Nevada, Texas, that illegal immigration, not just during Biden, but overall immigration as a whole, is going to cause these states to vote blue. I've talked a lot about Arizona. Let's go to Texas. That's going to lean to Trump. Trump is polling pretty well there, actually. He's beating Biden by about, depending, the most recent poll, he was up by 8. Another poll had him up by just 2. Another poll had him up by 3. But he is consistently polling ahead of Biden. But I think that's more of a testament to Biden's unpopularity. I mean, Texas was actually pretty competitive in 2020. Trump won it by about 6 points, the closest it's been in a long time. But Biden is just so unpopular in Texas. We saw Greg Abbott win by a pretty sizable margin, and the Democratic nominee for Senate against Ted Cruz is really not all that strong. So, and the Republican Party of Texas is a very competent party. I will give them that. They've got their work together. So I do think Texas might narrow up a tad. I do think that Trump should win it by 4 to 5 points. The state of Georgia, this is going to be the first flip from 2020. I believe it's going to lean to Donald Trump as well. Trump is polling very well in the state of Georgia as of now. We saw last year, yes, Herschel Walker did lose the Senate race, but he was an abnormally poor candidate. Every other Republican in Georgia won big, and even then Herschel Walker's race was pretty competitive. We even saw, and you could say, oh, MAGA and the far right is costing Republicans in Georgia. The Georgia lieutenant governor is probably was way more MAGA, way more quote-unquote stop the steal or whatever than Herschel Walker, and he still managed to win pretty big. I think Walker was just usually poor candidate for Georgia. With hindsight, I don't think he was all that strong. I think Trump has a much stronger, will do much better in Georgia. And also keep in mind, Biden is on the ballot. Georgia was a very close state back in 2020. I believe it was the closest. That or either Georgia or Arizona was the closest. Georgia is also, demographics are much more favorable. Well, I shouldn't say that, but there's a large white population in Georgia. And we've seen Trump make gains with African American voters, although it's kind of small. But the Democrats really don't seem to be contesting Georgia all that much at this time, which is why I think that it probably leans to Trump. Same story with North Carolina, although North Carolina is a much more Republican state than Georgia. I think Trump wins it by 2 to 3 points. Republicans did very well there in 2022. Trump managed to win it in 2020 despite collapsing and doing very poorly as a whole across the Sun Belt, whether it be in Arizona, Texas, or Georgia. I don't see how Trump loses North Carolina now that Biden is just so unpopular. I think it probably goes to Trump by 3 to 4 points. Nebraska's 2nd district, that's going to lean to Biden. It's a very suburban district, very, I guess you would say, anti-Trump. Don Bacon, the very moderate Republican congressman from there, only narrowly won it in 2022. I think it leans to Biden. Wisconsin, I actually have that as leaning to Trump, another flip. Trump is not polling particularly well in Wisconsin as of now, but it is the most Republican out of the Rust Belt states. It is the state that Trump, I believe, has the highest floor in. In 2020, he got pretty much 49% of the vote, and it was still razor thin. We saw Republican candidates do even better in rural Wisconsin while pretty much stopping the bleeding in the WOW counties. I think Biden's unpopularity will make it difficult for him to do better than he did in 2020 in a place like Milwaukee and Madison. While, like I said, in 2022, we have seen Republicans do better in rural parts of Wisconsin. And polling there, I mean, Wisconsin's usually a very difficult state to poll, but even then it's neck and neck. And Biden is polling fairly low at this point in time. The RNC is going to be in Milwaukee. Usually conventions give a little bit of a boost to parties. I think Wisconsin leans to Trump. We'll just finish it off. Pennsylvania's going to tilt to Trump. That's going to give him the win. And Michigan, I believe, will tilt to Biden. So starting in the state of Pennsylvania, probably the most controversial pick on here. Once again, Trump is polling very well in Pennsylvania, and he also has a very high floor. This is the thing that I kind of have been basing my predictions off of. Trump got 49% of the vote in Pennsylvania back in 2020, and in 2016, he got 48%. And Biden, the only reason Biden won Pennsylvania is he got 50% of the vote. Obviously, he got more votes than Trump. You're probably confused. But, I mean, Biden had a plus 10 popularity in Pennsylvania during this time. He was a very strong candidate for Pennsylvania in 2020, and even then, he narrowly beat Trump. Trump is going to get 48 to 49% of the vote in Pennsylvania next year. It's what he got in 2016. It's what he got in 2020. I don't see a reason that he would fall off more than maybe 48%. So Trump gets 48 to 49%. Biden barely got 50%. Even if 1% of Biden voters were to flip or just not vote because Biden is so unpopular, that still gives the state to Trump. And that's the thing, is I think Biden's base in Pennsylvania is very vast. Whether it be in suburban wine moms outside of Philly, African-American voters in Philadelphia, white working class voters in Northeast Pennsylvania, white working class voters in Pittsburgh and Erie. I mean, the Biden coalition is very strong. It won't take a lot to get voters to turn from Biden and just not vote or vote third party, while Trump has a very strong base in Pennsylvania. That's why I think he gets the narrow victory. State of Michigan, you could make an argument for Michigan, actually, to go Republican. We've seen with the auto workers strike, Trump has made an effort to appeal to those voters. We've also seen Arab voters turn against Biden. There's a whole coalition now to get Muslim American voters not to vote for Biden. But still, Whitmer won very big in Michigan. Michigan is the bluest of the Rust Belt. I think Biden has sort of a unique appeal in Michigan. I think Whitmer is still very popular, and she's probably going to be campaigning for Biden. And abortion is another big issue in Michigan. Abortion really hurt Tudor Dixon in the 2022 governor race. It passed in Michigan by a very wide margin. I think if anything is going to get voters out in Michigan, it's going to be abortion. So while, yes, Trump is probably going to make gains with white working class voters in like Macomb County and probably even Muslim voters in Dearborn, I think he is still going to lose more ground in like Grand Rapids, Traverse City area. And I think Michigan's going to be razor thin, but I do ultimately think it goes to Joe Biden. Although it could go to Trump. We'll have to see. As of now, I think Biden wins it very narrowly. So this is my 2024 prediction as of now. Kind of all over the place, I know. Some of it seems probably a little bit optimistic. Some of it probably seems a little bit pessimistic. This is just where I think the race stands as of now. Maybe I'm being too conservative with my prediction in terms of how I have states voting. Maybe Trump is way better than this. The polling certainly suggests it, but I got burned last year with my midterm prediction, so I'm trying to be a little bit more, for lack of a better word, realistic. But yeah, I think that this is a pretty solid prediction. This is where I think the race stands as of now. Obviously, a lot can change, but I'm excited for the Iowa caucus and the election season to really kick off next month. Thank you for watching this video. If you want to see more election coverage, please be sure to like and subscribe.